Welcome to Multifamily Grit, where we bring in the experts to share their stories of the celebrations and struggles of one of the most important industries in the U.S., multifamily property management. Kerri sat down with Julie Runyan and Alex Westad from AdWest, a third-party management company based in the Pacific Northwest that specializes in affordable housing through rural development and tax credit programs. With communities across Washington, Oregon, Alaska, and Nevada, AdWest is redefining what it means to manage with both heart and innovation. Julie Runyan, Compliance Director, recently joined AdWest with a mission to elevate education for on-site managers and compliance teams, building strong foundations without losing the human touch that affordable housing depends on. Alex Westad, president of AdWest, quite literally grew up in the industry. After purchasing the company from his father, who founded it in the mid-1980s, Alex is carrying forward a legacy of TLC, tender loving care, for residents, properties, and the on-site teams who make it all happen. Together, they're transforming a legacy company into a modern powerhouse, one that invests deeply in leadership development, emotional intelligence, and psychological safety, while embracing technology to make work more meaningful. From adopting Notion as a dynamic knowledge hub to launching innovative lunch and learn programs and leadership book clubs, Julie and Alex are ensuring their teams have the tools, mentorship, and structure to thrive. Today, we dive into how AdWest is bridging old-school values with forward-thinking innovation, from empowering on-site staff to digitizing institutional knowledge, improving compliance training, and raising the bar for service and affordable housing. We'll explore how Alex's hands-on leadership and Julie's passion for education are shaping a company culture that's rooted in care, accountability, and progress. Before we get started, this episode is sponsored by Fortress, the only core property management operating system built with an emphasis for affordable owners and operators. Fortress revolutionizes affordable management with features focused on automating housing assistance charges and payments to keep ledgers clean and accurate, centralizing file reviews and document storage through Fortress and AWS, and a free in-system smart waitlist to ensure your property stays in compliance. And don't forget, if you like what you hear today, please like, subscribe, and share with someone you think would enjoy this episode. Now let's get into it. Here's Kerri Davis sitting down with Julie Runyan and Alex Westad for a conversation about leadership, innovation, and bringing heart to affordable housing.
Julie and Alex, thank you both so much for being here with me today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kerri.
Appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, and you guys are going to have to be patient with me because this is my first time interviewing two guests at once. So I'm excited about it because you guys are so complementary to each other and obviously have created this powerhouse between the two of you to do what you're doing. So I have no doubt it'll go amazing on your side. Hopefully I can do my job on my side as well.
Appreciate the vote of confidence.
So
I have no doubt. No doubt you'll be fine.
Well, thank you. Before we dig in, would you guys mind sharing with our listeners how you got your start in the industry? And I'll let you pick who goes first.
Alex, you want to go?
Sure. Well, yeah, I guess as you alluded to in the intro, I kind of grew up in the industry. My dad had worked in the industry before founding his own company, starting with rural development properties. So I guess some of my earliest memories are, watching him go through that. And there was even a few kind of promotional VHS tapes for ICO, which was one of the original compliance softwares, I guess, if you could call it that. But it ran on a Texas Instruments calculator, and it would print out on a calculator tape. So my dad was on a VHS kind of advertisement for that, and my brother and I would wore the tape out, I guess. And then, after high school, I started working at AdWest, kind of just as I was figuring out what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. So it's, essentially, the filing assistant or coffee boy at the beginning. Then over the years, worked in compliance, worked as a regional property manager, and then as my dad kind of started moving towards retirement, kind of took on more and more responsibility from him, running the company, and really enjoyed kind of learning about business through that experience.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is so fun that your dad was on a VHS tape for compliance software. That is absolutely the definition of growing up in the industry.
Yeah, so even some of the clients we still have, they were on that VHS tape, and that was my first introduction to that one.
That's amazing. I love it. Julie, what about you?
I started out in the industry not knowing what affordable housing was. I applied for this leasing agent position and walked in on an interview that was actually happening with the tenant and sat down and listened to the property manager explain the Section 8 program to the
Oh,
tenant.
yeah.
And I absolutely fell in love. I also knew that I wasn't qualified for the position. So I was like, listen, I'm a quick learner. I promise that I will do my best to learn this program. But whatever this is, I am all in at that point. And luckily, I got my start with no experience and fell in love with the industry and worked my way up from property manager, leasing agent, property manager to regional floating manager, and then into compliance. I just really love the whole rules and regulations and helping those who don't know about the programs really find their way and their niche into making sure they're navigating the programs accurately. So that's been where I'm at and where I continue to thrive at.
I love it. And I feel like that having like a natural, like kind of ability to understand and like enjoy the rules and regulations is pretty rare. I mean, I'm an accountant by education. And so I always say that I feel like accounting and compliance are very, very similar. Like it's very black and white. Like you have, like, you have the guidance, whether those are the affordable housing regulations or GAP or whichever it is on either side, but you have that. And then you learn to apply that to all the use cases, which isn't always so black and white, but it is. I feel like it takes a unique mindset to not only understand it, but to really enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love sharing it with anybody who enjoys it because there is a lot of scenarios um, in what we do where it's not so black and white, and you try to navigate and help those who are navigating. Even I, to this day, am still like, hold on, let me get a second opinion just to make sure that what I'm reading is accurate and I'm not
Yeah.
interpreting based off of previous experience. So
Yeah.
it's really a critical thing for us to continue to that path of growth and learning and never stop. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to dig into that a little bit more with you guys today too. But I want to take a step back actually, because I feel like this founding story is just so incredible, Alex, because, there are many, many, many family-based businesses that are handed down over the years in some sort of succession plan. But that's not exactly what happened with you. So your dad, but before we even dig into that part, let's take a step back even further. So you said that your dad founded the company in the mid 1980s. What was his vision when he started the company? What do you know about what he was trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, for him, he really kind of fell into it. He was working at a company in Seattle called Asset Management, um, working different clients as a regional property manager, and then after a period of time, moved on to another position managing a medical center in Tacoma, Washington. And I think a year or so into that, he got a call from a former client who said, "Hey, I've been kind of shuffled around between a few regional managers. I don't like any of them. Why don't you start your own company? You can manage all my buildings. That should be enough to get you started." And he said, "Oh, okay." So it wasn't really something he was planning or thinking about.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's an awesome story, actually. Like, it just
Yeah.
goes to prove that if you show up every day and do a great job, you never know what could happen. I love it.
hmm And I think as far as his kind of vision was um, just that hands-on and caring approach for all the people that he was interacting with.
Yeah.
Um, he had and continues to have, huge heart for um, the residents and on-site property managers, um, the people who, in some ways have thankless jobs in this industry, and yet they're doing the hardest work and
Yep.
put in the most difficult situations.
Yeah.
So his big focus was always seeing that, acknowledging that, and providing great support for those people doing the hardest jobs.
Yeah. I love that. And then you didn't acquire the company through a succession plan. But you and your wife actually decided to purchase the business from your father. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And so what made you want to do that?
Um, I think leading up to that, I was kind of at a point in my life where I'd kind of always wanted to do my own thing or
Okay.
start something, and was kind of a little bit at a crossroads of, I like what I do, I'm good at it, I've been doing it for a long time, but I also have other interests. Kind of growing up, I was really into music and cooking, and
Mm.
um, did lots of projects and things around, the more creative areas of my life. And kind of when I was at that crossroads, my wife and I were engaged at the time, and she said, well, if we did this and we decided to purchase the company and move forward with that, I guess she just kind of posed the question, like, could we make it into something where we could apply our creativity more and um, have that opportunity for both.
Yeah.
And at the time, I wasn't really thinking about. I was thinking of just kind of doing more of the same and continuing my role, but realizing that if I was in the driver's seat, that really would provide an outlet to apply my creative skills.
Yeah. I love that. That's so fun. And the fact that your wife kind of saw that opportunity and well, I guess fiance at the time and wanted to be a part of it. I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Julie, how does that like obviously this is different, right? I mean, I don't mean to imply by any means that family-owned businesses that are passed down through succession plans aren't that that it's not deserved or that there's always a culture of maybe like annoyance or frustration with that. I mean, I don't mean to imply that that's always true, but it can be true. So, how do you feel like the way that Alex has gone about moving into the leadership role and owning the company has impacted the company, if at all?
Yeah, so I think from the standpoint of coming from, I've worked for family owned and operated, apartment communities and third party management companies. And
Mm.
the difference I feel like is that it's a true investment, and not that it isn't, but when it's family and you just be given it, it's kind of almost a burden that you almost find yourself into, where Alex and his wife Marie, they both have decided that this is their investment for the employee's future, but then also for their own future. And to me, it was so much more that they purchased it versus just inheriting it. They operate in that sense of care and love and nurturing and understanding that this really is an investment for not only their future, but then also their employees' future as well.
Yeah, I love that. And now I want to dig in even further because Alex, you have actually said to me that you would describe, what you're doing with your father's company as like taking an old school company and bringing it into the future. And then I love the fact that you're also talking about how, you and your wife have this like creative side to you and you wanted to bring that into what is historically a pretty laggard and pretty structured old school business. So tell me, what does that mean? What does taking this old school business and bringing it into the future look like to you?
I think it's just, maybe it's just that from my background and growing up, the things I was interested in, the types of projects I worked on with groups of people, I come from a different angle. Um, and I was a big nerd growing up. Most of my friends kind of work in the tech industry, and
Yeah.
those are the types of things that I learned from and found exciting. Um, just kind of coming from that angle and trying to make it so everybody's life is easier and things aren't harder than they need to be. It's fun for me, and there's definitely some creativity, but I also feel like a lot of it's not that revolutionary. It's kind of just trying to do all the things that already know you should do, but it's super hard to be consistent on, or to be kind of ruthless about simplifying things, and so you don't have this these bloated policies or structures or other things that just slow people down and make things more confusing.
Okay.
And I feel like Alex has done a great job with the leadership in making sure that he's equipped his team with all the tools that they need to progressively move forward.
Yeah.
Giving and empowering their team leadership to be able to implement automations and utilizing AI in so many different aspects is really critical in this point of age where we are trying to maximize employee time while also trying to minimize the frustrations that they feel by, very old, outdated processes. So I feel like he and, Marie have really empowered leadership and really ensured that they understand that it really is what can we do to maximize, but also benefit our employees. So
Yeah, I love that, Julie. I was actually going to ask you to jump in because I feel like Alex is being very humble, but that's okay. We'll we'll jump in a little bit into this more, and I'm going to force Alex outside of his comfort zone to talk about some of this.
yeah.
But before we do that, actually, because I think it's helpful from a contextual standpoint to talk about what you guys actually do. So, like, tell me a little bit about AdWest. So, for our listeners who are unfamiliar with the company, like, what does the company do, and who do you guys serve, and what's your primary focus?
Yeah, I think in short, we're managing apartment communities that are all funded through different federal programs. And these are, typically in small little towns dotted across, Washington state, but also in some other states. We're serving clients who are, a lot of them are kind of one-off developers. It's them or them and a partner or two, but also, and increasingly more so now, nonprofits or for-profit development groups who are, coming at it from a different, they've got larger, more sophisticated organizations, and they've got different things that they're, focused on and slightly different goals. But that's kind of it.
And I would say that AdWest is also kind of tailoring to those manager or owner agents that are struggling to stay in compliance, both either through their file or physical. And they're really coming at it at a different approach. Like, how can we, maximize and make sure that you are getting back into compliance as quickly as possible, while also making sure that your ROI, return on investment, is still adequate. So they're really looking at this from how can we manage what you have without having to, put in a requisition with the state agency for a rehab of the community. There are older communities that we're managing that we are helping them get back into compliance without having to spend so much money on that rehab or, taking tenants out of their homes temporarily. So I think that it's a really unique aspect of AdWest is that they really are trying to tailor to both the owners and the tenants.
Yeah, that makes that is honestly such a valuable focus to have, especially in affordable, to make sure that you have the focus on both sides, right? Like, obviously, you at the end of the day, like, you work for the owner at the end of the day, but you the ability to create a successful asset really comes from that focus on the tenant and on the resident, making sure the resident is happy, the residents are staying there, the residents aren't tearing your communities apart, like, whatever it is. But you, like, having that focus on both, I think, is so critical. Now, um, Julie, I really want to actually focus on you for just a second because, you obviously a huge part of this for you guys is on a huge part of your focus and how you're going to accomplish your goal has to do with the people. And so you've said that your main focus right now is really on education for on-site managers and compliance support for the staff. Why is this so important to you?
Yeah, I feel like we're at a time in the industry where a lot of our senior or knowledgeable employees have already exited. They're at that higher level of, their career path, and there really just hasn't been a huge focus in on training those new employees that are completely green coming in. So there's this large gap. the industry is always growing, and you would think that, more like universities would be adapt
Yeah.
to educating our property managers and getting them up to understanding what it means to manage a property.
Yeah.
But they're just not there yet. And so it's really critical on us in the affordable housing industry to educate those new employees coming in, to keep them excited. That same excitement that they had when they initially heard about the program and wanted to apply, they need to have that, continuing through 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. And the only way to really do that, I feel like, is not only having a great company, but then having an educational path for them to grow into.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. I think that that education and growth is so important to team members these days. And especially with, the way that regulations can change over time, and like ensuring that you're not just saying, oh, well, just because that's the way it was 10 years ago, that we're continuing down that model without investing in our team members. So so now I kind of want to move from here into how you guys are using technology and thinking about the more modern and creative approach to working with your teams. So, what are you doing as a part of that exercise in training your team members and in providing that leadership and that education? Like, what sort of tools or methods are you guys using?
And do you want to take it first, Julie, on the education piece?
Yeah, I can. So for the educational piece, we have weekly lunch and learns that go over either compliance related specific items, or it can go over to our company management specific items, like how we
Okay.
utilize our software, and what new policies we've implemented. But we're really trying to focus in on creating that, short training sessions for onboarding of new employees, as well as further educating our current employees to ensure that they have an understanding of what has changed in the industry and how they can navigate those changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love that. And Alex, you tossed it over to Julie, but I feel like you have something to add here too.
Yeah, definitely. So I think kind of my focus has been on like it's trying to do what I did as a regional property manager and trying to optimize my role, the things that annoyed
Yeah.
me, that I didn't understand why they were done a certain way, or I'd kind of hack together a little um, software script or other thing to work through some of this grunt work for me instead of clicking something a million times.
Yeah.
So it's kind of trying to take what I learned from doing that, and um, we're building some little software tools and utilities to help ease the job, improve our quality of execution, attention to detail, those sorts of things. Um, and as it makes sense, weave those into our processes, and um, let people have more time and capacity to do what people do best.
Yeah.
um, instead of kind of just spending time stuck in a maze or that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh, Julie, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to add to that. I think that's great that, he has definitely done that and empowered his leaders with that. But they also have the book club. And I want to make sure that we highlight the book club, because I think it's just so great. I haven't had a lot of leadership like continually have a book that book they pick out like once every quarter, and have all leadership read it, so that they can start to develop their leadership skills, as well as their psychological safety, understanding what that is, and emotional intelligence, and implying that to their day-to-day operations, which I think always comes back to the more you educate your leaders and being able to imply these new concepts, being able to help the employees, their supervisors and managers, also understand and imply the concepts. And so I think it's just really cool that they do that. So I wanted to make sure we added that in there too.
Yeah, it's been super fun too. We've got a group as a team at large, but especially also as a leadership team that's really um, hungry to grow and learn and push each other and make an impact. So that's been really fun to do that with the book club, and just be able to push each other. Back from my kind of music days, I had a mentor that told me, if you're the best musician in the room, you're in the wrong room. You want to
Yeah,
be with,
love that.
you you kind of want to be the worst person and
Yeah.
have all these people you're learning from and continually challenge. So I think that's kind of the culture we have a little bit amongst, that group and trying to grow and learn together.
And don't forget about Ted, our business
Yeah.
our business guru that's helping us push us as leaders as well. So
I
Yeah,
love
we
that.
also have an awesome business coach whose name's Ted that we all meet with regularly, sometimes in groups, sometimes often as individuals. I call him my business counselor, or business therapist, but yeah, I think it's just super helpful for all of us to have that kind of outside perspective, somebody that doesn't know, isn't here for the day to day. You can help us zoom out a little bit and see the big picture.
Okay. So many great things were just said there. So I'm actually going to rewind this a little bit. Because, well, actually, no, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'll start with the most recent one. So, you have a coach, that you have brought in as a business coach for your leadership, just for you, Alex, or for your entire leadership team?
Yeah, for the leadership team.
That's incredible. That's a huge investment that I see very few companies of your size specifically make. What motivated you to do that? And how are you continually analyzing like the ROI that he's providing, right? Because that's a completely unnecessary expense on your side.
Yeah.
So what pushed you to do it? And then how are you analyzing the success of it in order to continue it?
Yeah, I think, just personally, I look for people that I can learn from and mentors. And as I was kind of stepping into the role of taking the helm with my wife, Marie, um, other than my dad, didn't really have anybody who had this experience
Mm-hmm.
and was kind of looking and hoping for, to meet a new friend or somebody who kind of had a similar experience of running a company. And our HR manager actually had worked with this guy, Ted, at another company. She's saying, "You got to meet Ted. You will love him." So after a few months, eventually connected with him and got on really well. So I think just seeing what I was getting out of it, it was just clear that if the other leaders could get the same things out of it, then that would really kind of speed us up and supercharge what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
So I guess that was the start. And at this point, it's been probably more just anecdotally watching the interactions people are having and relationships that they're building with Ted and what they're getting out of that. And, it's definitely been, it's one of the easiest decisions I've made to keep writing the check every month for that.
Wow, that's incredible. I feel like if you ever need to replace anyone on your executive team, just make sure to include in the job description that you have like an executive coach, and I feel like you're going to be on a resume, so you have no worries there.
Yeah.
That's an incredible benefit to provide to your team. It really is. And so, but I would actually argue that the book club might even be more expensive, right? Because that's a lot of time, but your time and your team's time. But I absolutely love that also. I think that there is this implied and like subconscious level of really high level of respect that you show to your team when you ask them to do something like a book club with you, right? Because it says a lot of things. It says like, I think you're smart enough to engage with on this level to like sit down and read a book with me and then discuss it. I think that you're like you as a human are worth my time. And I think that like we'll get something out of this together, which is why like as a company, like we're going to spend time and money doing this together. And so I really do respect that. And I think that it's great, especially if you can create a place where, maybe you guys can even disagree on the books, which I love. So
Yeah, totally.
now, I love that. Has that happened to you before?
Yeah, I think that's been one thing that kind of I've been looking forward to, and I think is starting to happen more amongst our leadership team is having that healthy respect and caring enough to be honest when you disagree. And
Yeah.
we're all trying to make the biggest impact we can, and the ideas are going to come from everybody. And so it's been really fun seeing those, people be able to start duke it out a little bit, knowing that we're going to, at the end of it, maybe disagree, but we're going to commit to the path, fully commit to the path we've chosen.
Yeah.
And how we're going to approach things.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I can just say in the meeting, I mean, it really does showcase the ability to have that psychological safety and that environment that Alex and Marie have created, not just for themselves, but the executive leadership team. That's crucial for you to be able to give honest feedback. Even if you don't agree with what everyone else is saying in the room, you can just be open and honest to who you are and provide the insight, and we'll let that simmer for a second and see if there's a different approach that we should be taking. So I love that they've done that, and it's definitely seen.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys at the end of this podcast for your book recommendations. So you don't have to list that one. If my question is going to push you to list that one, maybe try to think of a different one. But is there a book that you read at the book club that like created that healthy conversation that you guys were absolutely like in love with, or is there just a book that has created the best like book club experience for you yet?
I think the one that kind of comes to mind first, at least, is called The Coaching Habit by Michael Stainer.
Okay.
And it's kind of basically the format of the book is that it goes through these kind of 8 questions that help to guide you having a conversation and kind of a coaching conversation with somebody.
Okay.
Without, kind of doing a Socrates type, thing. But getting the person to open up, learn about their perspective without trying to just dictate to them. Kind of how a lot of times there's value that we cut off by the way that we manage people. So I think these questions, these 8 easy questions to ask, and it made it easy for us as a team to try to incorporate those, or call somebody out when they could be using one of those questions, or because we were all kind of pushing each other to to practice this.
Oh, I love that. Julie, were you there for that book as a part of the book club?
I was not. I was not there. I would have loved to have been there because I actually have that book and the guide for it. So I love that book as well, and I definitely think that it's a fantastic leadership book.
That's so great. That was such a great recommendation. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Now I want to go back to the first thing that you started talking about here, which was really exciting to me when you were talking about leveraging your experience and your time as a regional to then create operational efficiency and structure through tools. You specifically use that word tools. I want to actually address this kind of in 2 different ways. First, the regional position. So cannot tell you how much I agree with that philosophy, and that is the first place that you go. I ran a property management company and was a part of helping it scale from 5,000 units to 30,000 units. And of all the roles that I look back on which were like instrumental and the like absolutely like the most crucial to the success of those assets for me was always the regional manager. It was always about having the right regional. And I think that as we continue to as property management continues to advance and as we bring in more technology, I think that's going to be even more crucial because I think you're going to start to see properties where there is no community manager. And so, but I think that actually affords us this whole new world of my assumption would be probably more highly paid regionals who have less properties, and you're able to take their salary and even potentially, distribute it among the properties, which isn't historically the way that we've done things. But if you're able to get that community manager role out of there, then you have more money to do that. So now you have more regionals at higher levels who, and we're even able to hopefully train and promote some of those community managers up into those positions. I don't really think that I'm in the aggregate talking about losing a lot of positions, but I do think that if you are able to really hone in and really extort the value of a regional manager, that you can create much higher levels of success and happiness, honestly, for everyone involved in that cycle. So I couldn't agree more. I love that was your focus. Yeah, actually, I'll just stop right there for a second. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I guess what comes to mind is just, I think the regional role is super difficult and a lot is asked of you. You're essentially like a main point of contact for the client. So you're like a client executive, and then you're working with all the different properties, interfacing with, your teammates and resources within the company, whether that's compliance or accounting, things like that. And then you're also being asked to be the strategist, I guess, to monitor the performance and take in all this data and create a strategy to get us to our goals for how we want the properties managed and the kind of the direction and strategies and goals that the clients have provided to us. And then at the same time, you dump all this busy work on.
Yeah.
And there's maybe conventional ways around that, but it's, I think it's a difficult balance. And I think there's a ton of potential and space to optimize that and really set people up for success and, providing world-class customer service to the clients, and, actually, proactive strategy for the properties, and also being a great coach and manager for, the teams of people working under them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so well said. And so I love that you've really focused in on that group and how you can help them with all of the different tasks that they have every day, and even the fact that they're the client executive and the strategist, and they also have all this busy work going on. And so you're creating tools for them. Like, that's the focus for you, is creating tools for them that allow them to be more efficient and that allow them to hit this like higher standard that AdWest is so passionate about. So what sort of tools are those?
There's a lot of them. Some of them I can't talk about yet, but it's.
I love that.
I think.
I'll let you keep your secret.
Yeah, it's. At a basic level, there's all this computer busy work of merging files, downloading reports, stuff that sometimes other teams are doing, but you're going through your day and you need something, and you've got to take 5 minutes and a bunch of clicks to open something up, download a report, and at least in our software, there's thousands of reports, and it's not always clear.
Yeah.
It's this has like 9 of the data points I need, but where's the 10th column? And
Yep.
so then you're hunting down that, and now
Yeah.
it's you're a half hour down the road or something.
Yep.
So I think a lot of it right now is about collating and making that data accessible and knowing what metrics and data points are the ones that 99.9% of the time we're needing to do our jobs and be effective managers and strategists. And then, Julie touched on the AI piece earlier, which obviously is going to be hugely disruptive and a big factor moving forward. But I think at this point on that front, it's really us testing it and finding out what AI is really good at and what things it just does better than people for our specific use case. And we've got a ton of data and history, which obviously makes that really helpful.
Yeah.
And a lot of potential. So I think, it's right now us utilizing it as an assistant and seeing what types of insights it brings up to us. Where there are points where it's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, but I'm glad that I have this added perspective. And then, when we write out our strategies or perspectives, what are the ones that it missed that might have been really important? So kind of a testing and assessment and phase, I guess, on that.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Oh, go ahead, Julie.
Oh, I was just going to say, definitely utilizing other people's expertise into which AI platforms do work and which don't work. And then, one of the things that they've also done is streamlined just even the most difficult task for regional managers, which is onboarding new employees. Or even sites as a specific threshold. So we're utilizing Notion right now as our source for policies and procedures, as well as onboarding checklist to help really navigate that part of their day-to-day task and making it as streamlined as possible. And taking everyone's ideas and trying to implement them as much as we can, or at least utilizing that thought and what their ideas are to propel us into a different avenue.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because I think streamlining the onboarding process of a new team member is something that is so easily overlooked, but so incredibly valuable, right? I mean, like our regionals may be excellent at managing people and leading people as they should be, but it is very rare for someone to have like an onboarding skill set. And yet that experience and that feature is so important. It's like the experience of an onboarding is so incredibly important. Like that's the team member's like first impression of you. It's going to set up their attitude and their tone for like at least the next few weeks. Not that you can't ever recover from a bad onboarding. You totally can, but like it definitely is going to impact how they show up and how they perform for the first few weeks. And honestly, how much ROI you get out of that team member for those first few months, depending on how they're onboarded. And so it's such but at the same time, right, it's a perishable skill for your regionals and for anyone else because hopefully they're not doing it all the time, right? Like hopefully they have a fairly stable staff and it's not something that they're constantly doing and it's so far outside of their normal list of to-dos. So I love that that's something that you guys are focusing on, and I can imagine the benefits, the value of that is really high for you.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm a big believer in making a good first impression. And
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I think it's not that it's not, you can't overcome that, but it's a better experience for everybody if you can get on the right foot and not have to kind of
Yeah.
start off from repairing something or a little bit of the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. You've brought up Notion, which you guys have brought up to me a few times. What is Notion? What are you using it for?
I mean, in some ways, it's kind of like an everything tool. So it's kind of enables us to have an internal wiki or knowledge base that's really easy to share with everybody. We have little team spaces, so it's kind of a hub for each team on what's important. It's super flexible, so we can put databases in there that we use to track things, automate different parts of those workflows or project management items, a ton of other stuff. But within that too, the AI is plugged into everything. So you can, ask a question in natural language and find a response of how to do X, Y, or Z,
Yeah.
or, all those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think having that sort of a solution is so crucial. It's so much work to get one stood up, right? I mean, like getting all of your knowledge base, like getting your knowledge base together and getting all of your articles, and all of the data and all the policies into a system so that you can lever AI to query it. It's a lot of work, but once you do,
Yeah, we're not there yet, but
yeah,
I mean, even having come from a place where there's a 400 page, Word doc manual, it's still not easy to
yeah,
to get this in there, and then that's in my opinion, those types of manuals, nobody's really reading those unless there's already a problem and they're trying to go back and figure out what they should have done.
yeah,
So yeah, you're putting that in there, and I mean, I guess the good part is it's making you really rethink all your policies and procedures, forcing you to read through that and where can we simplify and improve and that type of thing.
I do agree. I think that there's the exercise of doing it because it's something we've done at Fortress, right? But just the exercise of doing that has been like, do we need a policy around that? Like in some of them where it's like we're gonna throw stuff out, and then other times we're like, oh my gosh, there's this big hole where we need to write the thing. So it is, but it's also so valuable to put it into a system that can be queried, to your point, right? So really easily, especially with AI these days, in natural language, come up with, or find the answers to things. And we've even integrated ours and are working on integrating more things with it actually into Slack. So like that's just our normal like team channel, right? So like
Yeah.
our team communication. And so our team's communicating in Slack, and now all of a sudden they can start asking this chatbot questions that's then querying all of our knowledge bases and all of our data and other systems to come up with the answers. It's not always right yet because again, holes.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's incredible the value that brings.
Yeah, I love too how it kind of creates. I think we all talk about wanting these things to be living documents that we can all collaborate on and let the best ideas bubble up. And
Yeah.
I think it definitely opens up a lot more potential for that to actually happen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I would agree with that. Like, that's one of the things that, typically when you are looking at policies and procedures, most of it is coming from the executive leadership team, where this allows the person who's actually responsible for doing the task to really be able to look at that and say, whoa, wait, just a second, you've kind of missed a key concept here,
Oh,
and be
yeah.
able to provide their input, and allow that input to be, recognized, and then, also give them the credit where credit is due. They're the ones who ultimately are, driving the bus, and we want to make sure that they're driving straight and not, curving off when going offside the road when we need them to.
Yeah, that's such a great point to like how valuable it can be to set up your knowledge base as not only a living and breathing document for the executive team, but one that is not just searchable for your actual like executors, but that it is a document that they can contribute to and like be a part of and collaborate within. There's an incredible amount of value there.
Yeah, we have this kind of value or concept. We put an asterisk on a lot of our policies, that for us translates to "unless you know a better way."
Oh, yeah. Love that.
Because we want people to share their ideas. And I remember kind of early on in sitting in the driver's seat, hearing a story from somebody who their team was working on something, and it was kind of something they would, more of a day-to-day task or a weekly task. And then one person on the team said, "Oh, hey, why are you doing it that way? I do it this way, and it takes a fifth amount of time." Another person was like, "Why didn't you say something? I've been doing this every week for a year."
Yeah.
And I love that when I onboarded, that was one of the things that I read about AdWest. And it just, reaffirmed what Alex and Marie and a lot of the individuals from the leadership team had told me, that they really are looking to improve in all areas, and don't just take this from the, the leadership's perspective. They're really trying to get everyone's perspective in there. So that's, unless you know a better way, it's a written document. It's a policy that AdWest has. And I read that and I was like, wow, that's really cool that, we really do push that down to everybody.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Sorry, I took note of that. The asterisk of unless you have a better way. I absolutely love that philosophy. I think it's so empowering to your team members. And again, like, and Alex, it's all the little things that you do that you're doing that add up to this like incredible culture of respect for each person that's on your team. It's really phenomenal, honestly. And so I actually want to now like shift gears just a little bit because we've kind of dug into like all of the or a lot of the granular details, well, as much as you're willing to share about what you're doing right now. But I want to like come up maybe a few thousand feet and ask like because you guys are growing right now. So you are scaling, you're scaling as the size of your company, you're scaling operations, modernizing your systems, but yet you still have this like small company feel of like I respect every person on the team and everyone has the ability to participate in like forming who we are and contributing. How do you maintain that? So like what are the things that come easy in this transition as you're like trying to maintain that small company mindset but also growing? Like what things are easy and what things have been harder that you've had to work a little bit more intentionally on?
I think one thing that's maybe not easy, but in a way is simple, um, but also comes to be one of the most challenging things is just kind of maintaining a discipline to only adding people when it adds value as we grow the company, um, and making sure you have, to quote the Good to Great book, but the right people in the right seats on the bus. And I think especially with the way technology and AI and automation is going,
Yeah.
it's more important than ever. Because I think sometimes as you grow, you can get to a point where there's a new person doesn't add a net value, and not because they're not a great person or great at their job, but it just becomes more complicated the more people there are, and can be difficult to maintain the culture and values. So I think kind of trying to keep the team small, and we obviously are adding a lot of team members as well at the same time, but kind of making sure each one counts, and that's the best way to skin the cat, I guess. Has been, yes, simple, but also very difficult.
Yeah.
And I would add, like, as leadership, one of the things that I've already admired is that they have like their 3 to 5 year, BHAG, big audacious goal type of thing, where they're adding different levels of executives or bringing in people as they see it fit. They're not just doing it because the norm is to have a compliance director. I mean, they had this position that was not a position for a long time until they realized, okay, we really do need to have this. And it's not just the typical norm of how you run a management, company. So I think really evaluating that and ensuring that it's not just adding a body to add a body. It really is a need. And then it's going to add a lot of value, and how that value correlates to those who are in that department is really essential to some of the things that I think that I've already seen them do.
It's so hard to be intentional in every hire and every position that you have, right? But yet it is so important. So I love that that's such a focus for you. And Good to Great is one of my favorite books of all time. In
Yeah.
fact, yes. So
Agreed.
good. There's an unattributed quote in there that Collins does not take credit for, but he doesn't know where it came from, which is that, and I'm going to butcher the exact quote, it doesn't matter, which is that the only true way to reward your overachievers is by not burdening them with underachievers. And that's actually a philosophy that I preach at Fortress and we talk about all the time. Like, That's it. Like our company is going to be a group of overachievers. That's it. So like in order to make sure that I'm rewarding them every day and that they love coming to work every day, I'm going to make sure that they are never surrounded by that there aren't any underachievers here. There just aren't. Or even honestly, even like mediocre achievers. It's just not who we are as a company. Like we get the luxury of doing that because we're only like 50 people. So, like but I think that there is something really to be said about how much easier that is if you are super intentional about each position and what that position is doing and the value that they're adding to the company. But to your point, Alex, that's not easy. That takes a lot of thought and intentionality and strategy.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of just trying to think of, you sparked something with what you said there. Um, I guess that was a little bit of a hard thing for me in talking with different people, but um, just realizing that we have ambitious goals
Yeah.
to make a big impact, and we have values, and we're looking for a group of people who all line on all those things so we can do them
Yeah.
effectively. And especially kind of early on in the transition, as some people
Yeah.
maybe didn't align with the direction the company was now going, or things like that. It was difficult, and kind of creating that new mindset amongst the team that um, there's a lot of places to work, and we want everybody to work somewhere where they're fulfilled and happy, whether
Yep.
that's here or somewhere else. And just because someone's values don't align with what we're doing or the mission we have, it doesn't mean that they're a bad person, doesn't mean that we're a bad person. Um, it's just we live in a big world with infinite things to do pretty much. And
Yeah.
there's a special place for everybody somewhere. And it's we can't be that for every single person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to just add on to that because I do think that what Alex is saying is right. It's holding your team accountable to really look at their KPI and their contribution to their departments. But sometimes it's just finding the right place for an employee. Maybe they're in the wrong department. One of the things that I have already experienced and admire about AdWest is really just looking at the employee's skill level and seeing, is this something that is a great fit for your department, or would it work better, or would they work better in a different department, which could also realign them as an individual to become that overachiever
Yeah.
where they might be underachieving here. And so it's not just, oh, you didn't meet your KPI this week or this month or this quarter, you're out of here. It's really defining, what they're passionate about and realigning them as an employee to the right place. So Alex and Marie have definitely gone to the 10th with the putting the right people in the right position in the bus, on the bus. And so
Yeah.
I love to see that, and I love to be a part of that team.
Yeah, I think that's, the person's passion and satisfaction is, maybe more often the bigger part of it, or thing that comes up,
Agreed.
more frequently. Because I've definitely seen a lot of times where somebody is performing really well, but they don't have that passion, whether something's changed for them or they're going through a rough spot. But
Yep.
being able to chat with them about, are you happy here? Like, are you still having a good time? If you're not, that's okay. Like, we can still be friends and have respect for each other. But
Yeah.
I want each person to be a better person and grown for their time at AdWest, whether that's a year or a decade or 2 decades. But yeah, I think you keep different people line up for different periods of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so healthy to look at it that way. I feel like this, this is a little silly. I'm sorry, but you'll indulge me for a minute. But I feel like in Western culture, we have this like extreme aversion to like talking about and like accepting two different things. Like one is death. Like we just like don't like to talk about it. Like I don't really get it. Like the other day, it was a few weeks ago actually, one of my mom's cats passed away, which is extremely sad. Okay. Like it's but please don't think that I'm belittling that. Okay. Extremely sad. Um it was a scraggly kind of like lost cat that they nursed back to health, and she became a little bit of a part of their family. She's still an outdoor cat, but that honestly, that my parents weren't supposed to have because it's not a part of their HOA. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But um, but anyway, they loved this cat, and she passed away. And so my mom was like afraid to tell my 14-year-old son about it. She's like, "Oh, I just didn't want to tell him." Like, he came over to our house and he asked where Venture was, and she didn't want it. And I was like, "Mom, you gotta tell the kid, like, it's okay. Like, death is normal, and it's like okay. And like, he has a dog, and one day she's gonna die, and like, he needs to be okay and like comfortable with death." So I feel like as humans, like, we don't like to talk about. Sorry, that was like a long tangent into death that you probably didn't need from me, but
No, I know.
but anyway, I feel the same way about talking about firing people. Like, as humans, we shy away from it. We're like, we try everything we can to try to keep people and like make it work and like find the right spot for them and motivate them. And oh dear God, don't get me started on how like it's not possible to motivate people. But like, there's this like whole philosophy or this whole like psychology around it, I feel like, in the business world. And it drives me crazy because I'm like, to your point, Julie, like, some if people aren't performing, if they're not overachievers, then it is the most likely scenario is just that that's not what they're meant to do. Like, that's not what's providing like satisfaction and happiness in their soul. And so they're not giving more. It's like if you took someone who really needs to work with their hands and put them into an office working on Excel all day long, like, they're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean, and they could be smart enough to work on Excel. And so they feel like they, went to college and they got this degree and now they have to go work in Excel all day long. But really, they want to be out like physically building something in the world, so you have to, but so like if I see that person who's, working in Excel all day long for my company and they're not doing a great job, like, it is the greatest gift I could give that person to have a conversation about that person leaving so that they can go find whatever their destiny is, whatever the thing is that fills their cup. But yeah, we don't like to talk about it as humans. So I think that having that, at least as in Western culture, I can't really speak to others, but so I really think it's so awesome to be like so open and honest about that. And like, we talk about it a lot at Fortress. We even have like this concept of moving people along, and like we're just very, very upfront about the fact that like not everyone, to your point, Alex, is meant to be here forever. That's for sure. And not everyone is going to fit if they're not in the right spot on this bus, or maybe this bus isn't for them at all. And so just being really open about that, I think is so like mentally healthy for your team members.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I saw a lot of times with my dad, he had a team that really really loved him and was super loyal to him. Um, so I mean, I was able to see a number of people who it wasn't feeding their soul. They
Yeah.
it kind of that time had come, um, but they stayed on out of loyalty for him for um, sometimes years or many years. Um, and so I think it was seeing that, and then some of that was heightened during the transition, and trying to, I guess, communicate that you don't owe this to me, like, to make yourself miserable every day.
Yeah.
Coming into this job, like, I want you to be fulfilled in what you're doing, and
Yeah.
That's
And I think what they've done really well is create that, and I don't think they realized that they were creating that, psychological safe place for the employees to have those communications without it feeling like I'm letting your dad down, or
Yeah.
I'm letting this company down that I've devoted so much time to. It's really allowing them to just open up and talk about what they're passionate about and how that aligns with the mission of AdWest. And
Yeah.
how, if it doesn't align, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not loyal to this company, haven't got us to where we're at, or to Alex and Marie, or Alex's dad. It's really just meaning that we want you to be happy and finding that great balance between your work life and where you're wanting to go, where even if it's just another 3 to 5 years before you decide to retire. So I think that
Yeah.
that has definitely translated from leadership, Alex and Wes, to leadership, to the managers, to the regional managers, and really being able to help create those safe space.
Yeah. This is such a great conversation. I really enjoyed this specifically, discussing this, because I think Honestly, I feel like if we were all a little more open about this, and like not only as leaders, but with our entire company, that it would create a much healthier workforce. So I love this conversation. I really appreciate it, both of you guys, and I respect what you're doing and how you're doing it. I love it. So honestly, I think I'd like to wrap it up at that point. I honestly we have had such a great conversation, and I feel like that's such a beautiful way to end it. And so, but of course, before we end it, I do have my questions that I'm going to ask you guys. And actually, before that, I will do a shout out, Alex. I am so grateful for you and your drinks. So I've noticed that you've been drinking out of 2 different cups today, which makes me feel so much better. I'm like always have like, honestly, you don't even want to know how many drinks I have around me. I like drink way too much throughout the day. But I've always got like a coffee and like, this is bad, guys, like a coffee and a water and a cocoa and like usually some form of a carbonated beverage. Like I always have so much going on. So when you picked up a second drink, I was like, oh, this is the first guest that I've ever seen with multiple cups at his desk. I'm so appreciative.
Yeah, I usually have tea going all day, and then coffee or water. We've got a sparkling water machine at the office. I can relate.
Love it. Well, I appreciate it. Well, now I'm going to ask you guys the last 2 questions that I ask every guest. So first, would each of you like to share a story about your time in property management? Either or, I guess. Either of you or each of you. It doesn't matter to me.
Alex, do you want to do your time?
Yeah, let me see if I can think of a good one real quick.
Well, while he's thinking of things, I can give you one of my favorite times in affordable housing. I think for me in compliance, it's just remembering that at the end of the day, it's the people that we have that we are really trying to make their lives the best at the end of it. And coming from property management, one of the things that I loved was we had this little elderly woman who come in and applied for affordable housing. Their social security is just not that much. And for her, when we went through the move-in interview and she was told how much her rent was going to be, she was literally in tears because, it was something that was finally affordable for her. And then we went and walked on into the apartment, and it's a beautiful apartment. It's newly renovated. It's something that she would have never been able to afford on her own. And it's not that she didn't have, a home at one point. She did, but then, life happens, health, goes down. And it was really just a heartwarming experience that I still take to this day with me. That face that she made, being in tears about her rent being able finally affordable, and then seeing the beautiful apartment that she wouldn't normally have received paying that type of rent. So that's my story. It still sticks.
I love that, Julie. And that's a story that happens over and over and over again in affordable housing, especially the new developments and the renovated ones, to your point. The look of like shock and just like sheer gratitude that you experience with some of these residents. And that's why we do it. It's why affordable housing is so important. So I love that. Thank you.
The one that kind of I was trying to think of a funny one, but the one that kept coming to mind was there's a guy named Eric that now worked for us for a long time and now works for one of the state agencies that I learned a lot from. And he was really kind of a family friend growing up as well. As I was kind of a rookie regional property manager, I learned a ton of stuff from him and would drive along to go to the different properties. And conflict is something that doesn't come naturally to me. An in-person conflict, and makes me uncomfortable, like it probably does most people. But I remember us going into a unit with a resident that we've been having lots of problems with, and was kind of destroying the unit. And there've been a lot of conversations leading up to this. And I think the drive up there, I'm hoping that we don't go in this guy's apartment or that he's not home or something like that.
Yeah.
And we get there and Eric goes, no, we're going to his apartment first. We're going to talk about this. And There's a quote I heard somewhere, but clarity is kindness. And so we went in there, and Eric was just super, he was respectful, but he was just very blunt about the situation and exactly what was going on. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be so mad. And the tenant got really upset, and I kind of just, stood back a few steps and watched. And as the conversation, got more heated and went up, and Eric, I've never seen anyone better at this, but was able to kind of just bring it up and bring it right back down. And, by the end of, a 20-minute conversation, I think the resident gave him a hug and thanked him for being honest with him.
Love that. That's such a good story. I think that some people just have the ability to do that. And I am with you. I'm always in awe when people have the ability to like escalate a situation because it needs to be escalated, but then also bring it back down. My husband is actually a detective in Nashville.
Oh, wow.
And so like over the years, right, like he's had to arrest a lot of people. He just didn't have to take them to jail. And I swear he gets thanked for taking people to jail more than like anyone, I guarantee you, more than any other officer ever has. He just like has this ability to like you said, like allow the situation to escalate. I mean, like doesn't get much higher than like putting the cuffs on someone.
Yeah.
Like, has the ability to like take it to that point, take them to booking to jail, and then the guy's like, "Dude, like thanks, like I appreciate how you handle the situation." I'm like, how do you do that? So love it. Great story.
Yeah, I think if I could snap my fingers and have any skill, that would be up there on the list.
Yeah, love it.
Really
Love it. Well, okay, so that was fun. I love this story. So then my last question that I'll ask you guys, and I have a feeling you're each gonna have one for me because I know that you guys are avid readers. Do you have a book that you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
Sure, yeah. Well, I already gave you my favorite workbook recently. So I think my other book that I'm really enjoying right now and working my way through is called A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson.
Okay.
And it's basically a history of the world from just before the Big Bang all the way up till now, and it goes through human history, but physics and biology, geology, all the sciences, and it's super fascinating. And it's also kind of written a little bit in the tone of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So
love it.
It's pretty witty and entertaining at the same time.
Oh my gosh, Alex, I love this book recommendation. Actually, I'm so excited about it because my son and I, my 14-year-old and I, have off and on listened to books on the drive, like when I take him to school in the mornings, right? And so like I'll have like a book in my Audible that's like, anyway, and I've been looking for a new one, and I feel like this would be a great one. So
yeah, it's super good.
Oh, love it. Okay, I'm here for it. All right, thank you. That's an awesome recommendation. Julie, what about you?
For me, I'm going to do The Fearless Organization by Amy Edmondson. I just love the bringing psychological safety into the workplace and understanding the impacts of your history as well as not just your childhood history, but your work history and how that can impact you and your day-to-day and understanding that. So I've read that now twice, and I'm on my third read on that just because there's so many great concepts in that book that it's easy to overlook a few items. So, yeah.
Oh, man. Julie, I love that recommendation. I actually haven't read the book, but I do know what it's about. And I love how passionate you are about psychological safety. Couldn't agree more. And also the fact that you're tying it back to like trauma that you've experienced either like personally or professionally that's led you there. I used to get so angry. Like, right, we'd bring in new team members, and especially at a high level, you bring in these new team members and they're doing great, they're contributing, everything's amazing. And then all of a sudden, like at some point you realize that there was something that they were handling that they were just like continuing to do status quo when they knew there was a better solution, right? Like for some reason they let it slip where they're like, oh, well, I mean, like if we'd have been doing it this way. Like, what do you mean if we'd have been doing it this way? That's your dang job. Like, why didn't you tell us to change it 6 months ago? And they're like, well, I mean, you were already like, that's how you guys do things. So I didn't want it. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I used to get so mad. And then I realized like, it's not that they don't want to contribute. It's not that they don't want to share. Like they're afraid. Like people are afraid because of like past experiences, not us. Like we embrace it. I tell my team all the time, like every time I get to tell you guys that you were right and I was wrong, I walk away and pat myself on the back. So like prove me wrong and you can. Like, right? It means that I've hired people that are smarter than me. So I'm doing my job well. So anyway, but yeah, like you do have to break that down, and you have to be really intentional, and you have to articulate it. Like you can't just assume that people are going to come in and be open and honest with you, but like you have to set that up from the beginning. And I do agree that a huge part of that is really understanding why people come to you that way, like why people join an organization and are that way. I love it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Well, you guys, I have enjoyed our conversation so much. And I've flubbed it a few times. There were a few times where I was like, dang it, like I should have done better because there's two people here. So I've made a few mistakes. But overall, I think the conversation went really well. You guys are amazing. Love what you're doing at AdWest. And I know that everything that you've shared today, there are so many little like pieces of genius that are going to be amazing for our listeners to hear. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you, Kerri. This has been fun. Definitely.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Multifamily Grit. I hope you enjoyed hearing Julie Runyan and Alex Westad's story and the incredible work they're doing at AdWest. Their journey is such a great reminder that leading with care, curiosity, and commitment can transform not just a company, but an entire community. From honoring family legacy to building a culture rooted in education, psychological safety, and innovation, Julie and Alex are showing that growth doesn't have to come at the cost of heart. It's about empowering teams, investing in people, and making affordable housing a place where everyone can thrive. We also want to give one more shout out to Fortress, our episode sponsor. Fortress is committed to revolutionizing affordable property management with smarter, more efficient solutions that keep communities thriving and compliant. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a colleague who'd appreciate Julie and Alex's insights on leadership, culture, and building the future of affordable housing. Until next time, stay gritty, stay passionate, and we'll see you back here soon.